Some of my mentors, people that I listen to, they said school is a scam.
In fact, I think a lot of things people learn, probably there's no point in learning them because they never use them.
There's no need even to have a college degree.
For school is a scam, yeah.
Why didn't they go to school? It's because they no longer have the hope that our fathers had before us. You know, it was difficult for them to go to school, but they went to school because they knew that as soon as they finished school, they were going to get jobs.
It's been a very difficult to keep searching, keep submitting CVs, they keep turning you down.
Finding jobs for millions of unemployed Nigerians has been a nightmare.
So you can have a good degree from a good university and you will never get a job.
We can't pat ourselves on the back too much without facing the reality that the problem is growing. It's growing at a more geometric rate when you think about the population growth, when you think about how rapidly the education system is declining.
So you've probably been sold on this idea that if you go to school, get good grades, make a nice result, maybe a first class or a 2-1, then you get a secure job and you live happily ever after. There is nothing wrong with that, but it is far from our reality here in Nigeria.
And you're probably wondering whether school is a scam or not. I guess that's why you clicked on this video. And by the end of this video, you know whether school is a scam or not. And here is a little tip. The younger you are, the more you want to pay attention to this.
Schools are not a new invention. They've been around since the inception of man, and the basic function of school is to educate, which means to give intellectual, moral, and social instruction to someone, typically at a school or a university.
The earliest humans didn't need school to educate their youngsters because they educated them individually within the family unit. However, over time, the population grew and societies formed, and there was a need for something to be done. And that was how school was formed. The concept of school was that a small group of adults come together and they teach a larger group of children. Ancient schools weren't like the schools we know today. They focused more on teaching skills and passing along religious and cultural values rather than teaching specific subject areas like we are conversant with today. Fast forward to 1837. A man by name Horace Mann reformed the school system because the industrializing world demanded different skills than its agricultural predecessors. His logic was that if you could compete, you would be hired for a job. He wanted every man to be able to compete in the economy, to adequately equip students to be workers in the industry, and to mass produce products. The school system was reformed to focus on teaching students how to respect authority, be punctual, learn measurements, basic literacy, and arithmetic. You would agree with me that we are no longer in the industrial era, but the school system hasn't really evolved since the big reform in 1837, which is close to over 2 centuries.
2 centuries.
With that being said, I don't think you would be wrong if you say school is a scam. And here's why. It distorts you from seeing the real picture. We are in an era where creativity, enthusiasm, and problem solving are seemingly the most important skills to possess as a person. That's why you have the likes of Mark Zuckerberg, Innocent Chukwuma, and Oladapo Daniel, who probably dropped out of school or didn't go to school, but then they've been able to become successful in their areas of specialization. The fact that I've been motivated by the fear of failure is what has spurred a lot of students to go to class, read their books, not necessarily because they want to acquire knowledge or because they want to know the subject matter, but because they have to pass. And they are also generally afraid of being termed as failures by school, which I feel is quite ironical because in the real world, the best way to learn is by failing as much as possible and learning from your failure to become better. I know what is more fucked up. The fact that parents care more about their child's grade than the child themselves. I guess that's why some students feel a very high amount of pressure when they fail. And this may lead to depression and possibly committing suicide. And by the way, if you're enjoying this video, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you haven't. If you can recall your basic economics, the higher the demand for something, the lower the supply. And the lower the demand for something, the higher the supply. So with that in mind, you may understand why there are a lot of unemployed or underemployed graduates in Nigeria. We have an average of over 25 million graduates who have a degree but are still unemployed. And you may wonder, why are they unemployed? It boils down to the fact that a huge number of them are unemployable, and those who possess the skills to even be unemployed who may never get employed because there has been a swift decline in the area of job creation in Nigeria. As much as we would want to blame the youth for their misfortune, it is not absolutely their fault, because we live in a society where the ruling class are stark illiterates and have little or no knowledge or empathy about how to lead a nation. You are left wondering, what then is the use of going to school if at the end you are not going to get a job? So here's the big question: should you go to school or not? In my opinion, I guess you should, because though it may feel like a scam, it has some of the biggest opportunities which, if harnessed properly, can help you to be successful. However, I would kindly advise that if you decide to go to school, ensure that it is your sole decision and not because of peer pressure or from external pressure like family or relations. Because while school can be a life-changing opportunity, it could also wreck your life. It can really wreck your life. Look at it like a very sharp knife. It can be used to cut something and it's useful. It can also be used inappropriately and it is also detrimental. And you should also have in mind that the real and the most important education that you'll probably receive in school is the experience, and it may not necessarily be classes you take, the books you read, or the exams you write. And a fun fact to note is that you need a degree to get a job, but you don't need a degree to create jobs. If you found this video helpful, do give it a thumbs up, and you should consider subscribing if you haven't. And you're probably wondering whether it's a school. There was a need for something to be done, and that was how school was born. Though it may feel like a scam, it actually has a lot of opportunities which, if harnessed properly, can help you and